Greetings and good evening, listeners. I am Kevin George. I'm your host for Tropical Literature Creators. Today with us we have attorney, artist, and author, the ever keen Keri Kitson. I said it correctly. Kitson, correct?
Yes, it's Kitson.
All right, all right. Well, welcome to the program, Keri.
Thank you for having me.
What I usually do with all my guests, I usually give them a scenario. Imagine it is you're at the airport and we meet each other. What is one thing that you would recommend that I try? What is one thing that you would recommend that I try when I'm coming to Trinidad?
Well, if I knew your particular preference, I would be like, is it that you're a music lover? Are you a foodie? Or are you somebody who likes to do hiking? Because, for example, if you're a music lover and then you're coming for carnival, I would say, please go see Panorama, Savannah. If you're into music, because I like if you're a foodie, I was watching this YouTube video on Foodie Nation, and this guy called Mark Green was actually visiting Trinidad and Tobago, and he went up to Barman, and he had like coconut baked with bulgur and cocoa, cocoa tea from the actual cocoa.
Wait.
And I was just like, wow. But I would recommend, just make sure you have tasty foods like your own tea, the doubles, the Trinidad KFC, and shark and stuff like that.
No.
And if you were into hikes or nature, I would definitely recommend going to Bama Cathedral by the satellite tracking station and Maracas, as well as Kukui if you can not come to Trinidad and Tobago and not visit these places.
No, I hear you on these things. One of the things you mentioned, I just had to add to that. You had mentioned KFC because, I mean, in the island, we kind of take this for granted. But I know a couple of friends from some of the other islands, when they came to Trinidad, they would buy KFC and they would take it with them because they're saying, here's what, the KFC in Trinidad tastes different. So, yeah.
That is true. That's why I would say when I was going to school in New York for my this undergraduate degree, and a couple of us were trainees going to St. Francis College. And one of the things we would always do when we're coming back, we would walk, but I would walk with KFC and cheese. That's my Trinity cheese. And anybody would come up like, just bring us a KFC for us, and bring us a KFC for us. It's not the same because remember we season our stuff a lot compared to other countries, and that is one reason. Like for Chinese, we would definitely make sure we care about KFC.
Okay. All right. Well, having asked you that question, I mean, obviously this is about you, so I have a couple of other questions that I would like to pose to you.
Go right ahead.
I mean, one of the things that make you one of my more interesting guests is that, I mean, when it is that we were talking, you had mentioned the term NFTs. Can you tell us a bit more about them and how you've incorporated them into your work as an author?
Well, actually, NFTs are non-fungible tokens, and they can be literally anything. They can be digital works of art, they can be tweets, they can be videos, they can be basketball highlights, they can be anything. But what happens is that they're really digital assets. And when they do, they're linked to blockchain. So therefore, if you are, it's like a digital asset linked to a blockchain. It could be Ethereum, it could be Solaris, it could be anything. And you can sell it on the NFTs markets. The more popular ones are OpenSea and Wearable, I believe. But they have a lot of others coming up. So NFTs, I think it's going to be, actually, not that I think it's going to be, because in 2021 they had like about 10 points something billions of dollars in sales for NFTs alone.
Oh.
And even though and this is 2021, so they haven't updated to 2022 and much less of 2023, but it is a huge market and it's exploding. And even though there have been some issues with it, in terms of the value going down, and then if I've heard about the ones called Bored Apes, whereby some they had some technical issues with the markets themselves. One markets, which is open, which is the largest, which is one of the largest markets for NFTs.
Mhm.
It
Mhm.
is still something that is looking at and for the future. Um, in terms of how it relates to my work,
Mhm. Mhm.
I would have to say that well, as an attorney, one of my first legal articles was about was considered NFTs,
Oh.
and it's my first published article in the legal arena.
Mhm.
So it's quite
Mhm.
proud of it.
Mhm. Mhm.
I had planned to. I got an incentive NFTs actually. I started reading about it and doing some research about it
Mhm. Mhm.
last year, or late last year, early last year actually. And I thought it was quite interesting. And then I started looking at digital artwork, and I decided to launch my own brand as Katie Creatives.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I do the art for the Katie Creatives, and it's basically digital art. So I turn photographs that I take into digital art using AI software. So the AI software could be, it has this one called AI Dream, which is also known as Wombo.
Mhm.
It
Mhm.
has DALI E, it has Go Art, there's so many different ones you can use. There are ones that you can just literally just type in some words and artwork comes up according to how the AI renders it or what they perceive and if you like it or not.
Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
not a, I'm not much of a fan of that one. I prefer you actually have something that is of yours.
Yes. Yeah.
Aside from the idea of say the word, but your own creativity. So that's why I prefer I'll do for me, I'll be for my photographs and I'll just render it into the outfit that I like. Or just use it however I so deem fit. I have a couple. I think what was amazing for me was being able to go from digital photographs
Mhm.
to being able to have a physical manifestation of digital artworks because then I got a couple of them printed. So and if you can you see?
I
I'm just
can.
saying.
I can. I can.
All right, so if you look at my wall, this is one of them. So
Ah.
this is Barbara Cathedral. This is one of my photographs from Barbara Cathedral.
Mhm. Mhm. Ah, yes, from Trinidad. Yep. So one of the places that person should visit. Just putting that in there. Putting that in there. I.
Barbara Cathedral, definitely by Margaret Bay, and if you swim up Margaret Bay Beach, awesome. Favorite swimming spots. Um, yeah, so it was nice to be able to go from an idea to
Mhm.
a manifestation. And I did two virtual art exhibitions last year. One was I called it the Memorial Collection, and that was done in January. And the next one was for mothers, for me. And I did a couple of artists. It's just interesting because as you do only digital artists really in the mix.
Ah,
Um,
interesting. Interesting.
yeah, and the others were artists who dealt with the paintings and the different mediums, and I learned a lot from them. I learned a lot from them. I respected their craft because they'd spend months and sometimes years on a piece, and I was just like, wow. And for me, I would the time that I would spend is a lot less because I'll be doing the photographs. And the photographs is yes, the lighting, and then sometimes it's just being at the right place at the right time, at the right moment, and the right lighting.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
you get some really nice, lovely photos. And then I would render it into the digital art. But it depends on what, and then you can go to a ton of renderings from the AI software, and you would pick the one that you are most comfortable with, and that's or the most one that you like and it strikes you. And sometimes you just have to have an eye for it.
Ah.
And after that process, if you decide that you want to, because I don't want to have an entire room or place full of just paintings or paintings. So
Mhm.
unless I want to actually print something, and then I had to go find places to actually print the digital artwork.
Oh.
And
Have they been easy to
I
find?
well, I discovered I discovered one in Trinidad and Tobago, and I discovered another one in Brooklyn, New York. I loved it. I like one in Trinidad. They taught me about the resolution and the pixels and getting the sharp colors and stuff like that,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
what will suit in terms of because of the medium and also the medium which I take the photos from. and all these different things, how they impact the quality of the photos and the quality of the prints. And when I went to Brooklyn, New York, and there's this guy who ran Brooklyn Edition, and he did a print out. He did a print out for me for the thing, and the thing is, he did it like a museum quality print, and I was just amazed. I was like, wow. So it's a learning process. I'm still learning because I only started doing this particular, I would call it hobby,
Mm-hmm.
last year. So, as a result, I was thinking to myself, like, I would like one good date so that I can use these digital artwork in one of my own books. So I would like to finish the children's book, hopefully, God's willing, soon, hopefully, and include some of the digital artwork in the books, because when I did my second one, which was these details, I got this graphic artist. His name is
Mm-hmm.
Silence.
Mm-hmm.
He is a fantastic up and coming graphic artist. And he did the sketches for me for the previous chapters. I had like two chapters, and he did the sketches plus the cover page. And I liked what he did, and I was like, you just sent to back and forth, discussing how the colors are, the if I liked it, if I didn't like it, and I'm just in the dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
And it
Mm-hmm.
was fun. It was fun collaborating with them. And I wanted to do something. I would like to do something whereby I can have my own artwork as well. I probably collaborate, of course, when I collaborate with him again,
Of course,
and
of course.
have something, yeah, and just have something like that to show, like, my Katie creative side, because that's my moniker, that's my Katie creatives. That's what I go under with the artwork, as well as and combine it with the author part of it, and we like people and see how that turns out. Yes, it should be fun.
I mean, that sounds really interesting. I, I mean, just to change gears a little. I mean, you mentioned that you went to school at New York and at New York. Can you tell us a bit about your education? Because I think if it is that we understand a bit about your background, I think it would just give us some bearing as to things or some of these skills that would have helped you as a writer to do what it is that you do right now.
Right, so I have had a very, very bad education background.
Mm.
So I started off with let me run check on primary school. So primary school I went to Hoover South.
Okay,
Primary
okay.
school then I went to California government when I passed for Bishop. So I did California government for a year. And I
Mm-hmm.
passed for Bishop University High School in Port of Spain. I went for 7 years. I did from Form 1 straight up to Form 6. And then from Form 6 I got a scholarship to go to St. Francis College in New York. And a lot of trainees around that time will get scholarships. And
Ah,
we went up. We got our first degree because it was a full tuition full scholarship.
nice,
I did a
nice.
bachelor's. Yeah, it was hard work, but I was grateful because I'm like I got to get tertiary education essentially for a fraction of the course because I didn't have to pay tuition, and I had family live there, so I got to live with my family. So I did my bachelor's in economics and an associate in business admin. Then after I finished school, I was like, I want to do something else, but I didn't want to do a PhD in economics. Because
Mm-hmm.
anytime I was economics out, I had enough. So I decided to I was like, why not go to law? I was like, okay, why not? But yeah,
Why
I was
not?
like,
Why
why not?
not?
And that was essentially it, why not?
Mm-hmm.
So at the time the transfer government was offering gates, but it was half. So they were paying 50%, and you had to pay the other 50%. But compared to doing it in New York, that was going to be a lot more expensive for me to do it in the States than would be in Trinidad.
Mm-hmm.
So I went
Mm-hmm.
back home, and I ended up doing my. I had to go through the full stage because how it was. If I had stayed in New York, I would have been able to, from my any bachelor's degree, I could have gone straight to law school and just did law school. But in Trinidad, you have to do an undergraduate in law
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
then go to law school. So I had to essentially do a second degree, second bachelor's degree
Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
law. I did my first year at St. Augustine and my last 2 years in Cavell.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, when I graduated, I went straight to Cuban Law School where I graduated with my LEC. And I became a practicing attorney in 2009. Um, yeah. I later went on to become a certified mediator. So I think different. As I said before, I've had a eclectic um, way background. While I was in St. Francis, I did a couple of courses with English lit, and I think one of the ones that made me realize I could actually write book was this book called House of Leaves. I will never forget that book. I was like, that book just tossed all my ideas of what a book should be and could be and supposed to be out the window. After that, I was just like, you know, if they can do it, I can write a book. So, yeah, and I started to seriously just start doing some jottings. And when I got to law school, by the time I got to do start my bachelor's degree, I started to just like start planning another story.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And so I was started like creative writing,
Mhm.
but I think in a way, that's my first book came out because I'm like, as a way of really interest because I'm like, law was heavy. It
Okay.
was reading about different cases and all, and some of them were quite interesting, I must say, admit. Like, people may not realize it, but law is about real life. And sometimes certain things are quite, they can be quite interesting in terms of what transpires.
No, I mean, who
Um,
doesn't like a good like crime drama? You know, everyone likes to watch like a Law and Order or Criminal Minds or something. You know, you can't just pull yourself away from it. But here it is, you're actually going through the actual stuff. So I don't know if it's like for educational purposes where you're like, man, this is interesting. I mean, I know it's for studies, but I mean, this is interesting.
so, yeah, some of them are cut and dried, a lot of them are cut and dried, but
Hmm.
some of them it can be quite hilarious at times. Um, but but it's also a heavy workload, and
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
think as a writer just really distress. And also wanted to write like about relationships, and like I was really into Harry Potter at the time
Hmm. Hmm.
because when I was in St. Francis College actually I had a friend called Gail, and he's like we have to read this book, and because he was in one of my literature classes too. He's like I was like Harry Potter. I'm like, with that of J.K. Rowling at the time.
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
read one book, and after that I was hooked. I was hooked. I was like one of those persons when until fourth book came out, who was around was lining up at a bookstore, close to midnight to get her book to get her book. And I'm like, the lines around the corner, and I was like, wow. So yeah, it was. And you realize the power of the author because I'm like, if you had this this is not even a movie premiere. This is just for a book. Actually went into line at like close to midnight to get a book, and it was just like wow. It just showed the power of words, the power of like a good storyline, and it's just that writing. So now, obviously, aside from J.K. Rowling, I would have had like I like fantasy. Like I was reading Tomorrow. Yes, I
Hmm.
loved her books. She was like she was like for me, her books are just like she'd always have like these strong female characters,
Hmm. Hmm.
and I just basically got from there, and I wanted something like where that had female characters who were not the yes they would have been flawed, but they also had some metal,
Ah.
and that's essentially how it unfolded.
I mean, I'm glad that you mentioned your items of inspiration for writing, and you also mentioned a bit about like your process because you said your book started out as jottings. Can you tell us a bit more about your writing process? Is it that they continue as jottings, or is it that you sat down like maybe like for an hour a day, like each day, while you were studying, or was like a form of like relieving stress or something? Can you tell us a bit more about that?
I wish I could say I was like an hour having a quiet and at least I hate you. No, seriously, I didn't have time to do hour day. I was busy. I was like trying to catch up with schoolwork and go to class
Hmm. Hmm.
and
Hmm.
just do all the other things that you're supposed to do because from there you still have to live.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, so if I could, like, you get up, like, you had an idea, just write it down and just type it out. And I realized before I used to be like, straight to, I would write it out and then I'll just type it. And I realized I'm wasting time, just type. So I just start to type on the computer straight. Or whenever I get the verbs, I just sit down and type. And sometimes it weeks would go by, I won't type. And then I'll just get a need to just sit down and write, and I'll sit down and write. And I'll just go write for however long I could.
Okay.
And
Okay.
essentially, it took a while first. It took a while for me for this book to get done. I'm finding. So it was in 2012.
Hmm.
That was when it got published, and I self-published it.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
that took a while to write.
Ah.
So yeah.
No, no. We are glad that you finished actually writing the book because if that was the case, then we would never hear about the Estrel series of books. But
Yeah.
I mean, having said that, I mean, you had mentioned that a lot of your inspiration, or at least fantasy, heavily influenced a lot of the writing that you did. Tell us a bit more about the character Estrel. Well, the books in the character in the book, and also the characters in this Estrel series of books. Which character you would you say was your favorite character to to write?
I'm supposed to say I have no favorite characters. So Astro started out as two sisters, which was Delia and Talia.
Mhm, mhm.
And we were introduced to them as they were, like, on the cusp of, like, being, they were still in their close adulthood. And basically, how it started off essentially was them being thrust into adulthood in a manner that made them take a chance and realize, like, sometimes you take chances in life that you want to, because you want to see how good you are, you want to prove yourself.
Mhm, mhm.
And one followed her dream, and the other one followed. It was not dream, but it was just her way. And then sometimes we think to ourselves we have to do this particular part and that particular part. So on Stalia's part,
Mhm.
where she was like, she wanted to go accomplish. This is how she's focused. She wants to do this.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
the other one was just like, she's going along her way, but then you realize her pathway is actually linked when you, like, we really later on to
Mhm.
that of her mothers and her grandmothers. So I would say I had two favorite characters, which is both the sisters, Delia and Talia, and then fine. And as my world grew, I just liked more and more of them. And then, like, then when they had children, when Delia had children, and I'm like, and then I had to do something, I had to bring Delia back because I was like, it hit me honestly when I have to kill off characters. I lost to cry.
No, I mean it's good that we hear the author's perspective because when we're reading a book and there's a character who we really like, we're thinking, man, but this author is some kind of sadist or something. They make us like the character and they just kill them off. These sadists. But you know what? We have to finish the book just because we like them. So it's good to hear
Yeah,
an author's perspective.
because you get attached to the character, but then I'm like, I was honestly after, and I thought I was bad, but then I watched Games of Thrones, and then I was like, after that, I was like, wow, that just blew my mind.
So it's like
So
they'll get over it. They'll get over it. That's the thing. That's the thing.
I put back my character. I think I know what else. I was just like, no, I have to bring her back. We need to have more fun a little bit. I was like, I was still trying to, like, sort out. I can't believe she's gone. So yeah, that was me.
Wait, I mean, one of the things that you mentioned was the characters they choosing and following their own path. Is that one of the takeaways that you want persons to have from this book, or is there more that you want them to take away?
Well, actually, that is one of the takeaways I want them to have because at the end of the day, um, everyone can tell you what parts they think will be good for you, but you have to be happy with the part that you choose, and you have to choose a part. Don't let anybody decide for you
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
when they decide for you, you may come to resent it. So it is better that you have that choice and you follow through. And yes, this is not going to be easy.
Mhm.
There's nothing that's in life that says it's going to be easy, but it's going to be satisfied. It's going to satisfy you at the end of the day because you can look back with no regrets and say, yes, I did this. I did this of my own calling.
Okay.
So that was one of the takeaways from this book. And also another takeaway was the relations that we have and the connections. Sometimes we are unaware of the connections that we have with not only each other but our past, and we learn more about it as time goes by. And sometimes we may not even know, and we may not even realize it's like sometimes to talk about these 6 degrees of connection,
Mhm. Mhm. Or
and
6 degrees of separation.
6 degrees of separation.
Ah,
I
okay.
like to call it connection because in that sense it's connection.
Ah, okay. Agreed. Agreed.
So we need to be mindful of that as well. Um, so those are the two main takeaways I like people to take to go when they read this book. And also to just have fun and enjoy it. Enjoy it, enjoy getting lost in it for a little while and just letting the world go around you, just go with the flow, then go
Mm-hmm,
back
mm-hmm.
into the world. So that's basically it.
I mean, it sounds like you had a lot of fun, like putting the book together, and you would like persons to appreciate the book. Another question that I ask authors as well is, in Trinidad, and I don't know if it's the same in some of the other Caribbean islands, we have like these national books that we use for persons to help them with reading and with comprehension. Do you think that if it is that you had the opportunity to have like maybe the Estrel series of books, or maybe even like extracts from the book to be used to help persons with their reading and their comprehension, how would you feel about that?
If they would use Astral to, as a part of their creative writing syllabus,
Yeah, yeah.
I would feel like, wow. That's how I feel. I I think that honestly, when you in comparison to people like um, V.S. Naipaul and Lisa Agostini and all those other persons,
Mhm, mhm.
I as an author, I still feel like as if I'm not in the big leagues as yet. But I would still feel honored because I firmly believe that we need to get our kids reading. We need to get our children to read and
Mhm,
to sit down
mhm.
and spend time with books because it's the foundation. And if it is that they would read my book as part of it so that they can actually start to build on the foundation and they even become better,
Mhm, mhm.
I would be happy. I would be very happy.
I mean, those are really sincere words. I mean, and if it is that, for example, any of these children would have read the book and are listening to this program right now, and let's say if it is that they read Escher and they're like, you know what, I want to write a book just like this, just like Miss Kitson has written a book. What advice would you give to them?
You can do anything that you put your mind to. No matter, just keep plugging on because it took me years to write Astro, and I'm glad that I stuck with it and I was able to move from an idea in my head
Mhm,
to
mhm,
building the whole fantasy world
mhm, mhm,
to eventually the whole editing and the editing process, trying to find an editor too, to finally getting it trying to eventually the self-publishing process, and then getting it to readers. And funny enough, it's one of my readers that was actually one of my church friends,
mhm,
and
mhm,
she was in her late 50s at the time that she read my book, and this book was mainly for young adults
mhm,
and
mhm.
teens. And she was like, she keeps telling me that she's a lovely Jamaican lady. And she kept telling me, you know, I almost got a ticket reading your book. And it's very interesting. And I'm like, whenever I finish a book, I mean, I shall see it. I was on it. She puts herself started to read. I'm like, what do you think? And then she's like, after the last one, she's like, so when are you doing the next one? Because I just finished this one.
I mean, I know you said it was for the young adults, but I guess it's for the young at heart too.
Yes, it is. It really is. Because they make you, I think as an author, anybody that takes the time to read your book,
Mhm, mhm.
and whether or not they like it or they don't like it, but the fact that they spend the time to read it says a lot because they take time, which is something that you can't get back
Ah,
on something that is one of your products, and that is a blessing.
ah,
That's a blessing.
it is.
So So for anybody who wants to try their hand at the writing process, I think go for it because because I wrote these books, I went and then I decided let me try to do my a legal article,
Mhm, mhm.
and I did not have as much trepidation as I would have because I know I had these books under my belt, but I was just profoundly glad when somebody a publication picked it up,
Mhm,
and it was
mhm.
like the law, North American, oh gosh, it's North American Regional Forum, I think, for
Mhm.
the International Law Association. They picked it up, and I am profoundly glad because it was nice also when you get feedback from editors and you know that you are good enough to do something, and it just shows you just kept incrementally better, just bit by bit, and I keep using this analogy. It's like building on it doesn't like sand and you just go on, not the sand but rock. And you just go a little higher, a little higher, a little higher until you reach that space and you realize like, wow, I actually did this. And when you look back, you realize how far you've come. So to anybody who wants to write, and in the words of the book Thief, which is one of my favorite movies, just right.
Okay. Listeners, you heard it from Miss Kitson herself. One of the things I want to just piggyback on, you had mentioned publishing, and I always think this is important to touch on with all the authors who I interview, because some of the persons have really great experiences, persons have not so good experience. But in your case, how would you say that your publishing experience was?
My publishing experience was a. I don't use the truth, but it really was a truth. So I had to learn how to, because I self-published. I couldn't get any publishing company to pick up my books. So I think I would have initially sent out the manuscript to one or two publishing companies, and I didn't get any response, none. And then finally, I was just like, I think it was okay, and I found out that I could have publish it myself on Amazon. So I figured out I had to figure out how to publish on Amazon. And at the time, it wasn't spoiled, but I was doing it. It wasn't as it is now, which is a lot easier. In terms of the guidance. So it was like, it was trial and error. And eventually I got it, and it wasn't too bad. And then I had to do some updates later on. I still have to do some updates now, because I'm like, now they have more stuff, like, when you read a Kindle book, you can highlight the words or flip to different pages, but it has to be enabled. So I have to go and enable it for my older books.
Okay.
It was a learning process, but someone recently actually, and he was like, so why don't you try to get it published out the country, like internationally, like one of the publishing houses, and they have editors, and also I had to find editors. And that was another problem. I should actually use somebody who was a English teacher, and thereafter I wouldn't recently, they have different types of editors. So we copy editors. They have those who read for text, those who get different types of editors.
Okay. Whoa, okay.
Developmental editors as well. So it's a learning process, as I said before, but I'm glad that I actually did it. I'm glad I took the leap of faith and I did it, because I had to learn from beginning to end. It was 100% effort on my part, because I'm like, as a writer, it's just as lovely to write, but then it comes to the hard part in terms of editing, and then you have to try to publish and all those other items, and don't forget marketing. Marketing is another ball game by itself. So, yeah. It's a lot.
No, I mean, the thing is that you mentioned marketing as well, and that's one of the things I've been learning as I interact with authors, because a lot of authors initially they think, you write the book, you get the book published, and that's the end of the story. But I mean, yeah.
There's not. And the marketing part of it is tough. I recently did I did two courses. I like to do short courses. I did one.
Yeah, she's very keen, listeners. Miss Kitson is very keen. Yes, you were saying?
Seriously, I did the YMCA offered these courses last year. I did social media marketing, digital marketing, even supervising management with them. And I did conflict resolution management this year. And the social media marketing and the digital marketing showed me the different platforms and how you have to market and what you have to do, and I was just like, just blew my mind, because I was thinking to myself, we just, and it's a lot of work, because I'm like, yes, you want people to read a book, but it's the after work that you're just like, wow, I did not realize this was such a process in order to get the books out there. But if it's something that you enjoy, it's something that you have to do. And it's something you have to do. So,
No.
What can I say?
In terms of getting your books, getting word of your books out there, I noticed that you have a YouTube channel in which you feature readings of the book. Is this a tool that you use to market your book as well?
Actually, no, it's not a YouTube channel. It's my whole website. I have a website and I have Instagram and Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And I also do, like, I also have my stuff on WhatsApp. I have yet to do TikTok, and that's something I have to and carry myself up to.
Ah, okay, okay.
I did one YouTube video, but I did a reading for these details. And I
Mm.
had on my pink wig and everything. And I really enjoyed
You see,
it.
but Keri, you're
I
100% in, Keri, 100%.
said I enjoyed it. If I enjoy something, I would do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but and I did I did a launch of the that was the first time doing a YouTube video. And funny enough, when I did a segment for some kids last year, it was for the World Reader Day.
Mm-hmm.
I went to
Mm-hmm.
school down south, and I tried to play a YouTube video for them to show them what the audiobook was like, because
Mm-hmm.
they had never really heard about an audiobook, and, like,
Oh.
actually, yeah, it was lovely to read it for them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Just the faces and the experience, because we did it via Zoom, for World Reader Day, and they were just they part of the reasons why I do this, because you teach them something, they learn something, and it opens their imaginations and opens their minds to the possibilities of what can be done and what's out there. And it was a fantastic feeling. It really was a good feeling that day.
No, that sounds really interesting. I mean, we've spoken about marketing. I want to talk a bit about sales. In terms of like getting your books, yeah, I mean, I'm covering all my bases here. I mean, in terms of,
Sales?
yeah, in terms of getting your book sold, would you say that it's easier to get your book sold like abroad as opposed to locally?
Um, okay, well, my books have been on Amazon since 2012. I have yet to date receive any money from Amazon. Because apparently on Amazon, they say like you have to reach 100 US before you can get any royalties.
Oh,
And since 2012, and in 2023, so that's about 11 years now.
whoa,
Yeah. As
whoa.
I said, from Amazon.
Okay, that's
Most
how.
of my, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Most of my sales have been through when I do my book launches for the new books, and when I would have put them in the bookstore, which is Metropolitan Books Suppliers,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which is a local bookstore, and also the libraries, Nala's Library. So most of my sales would have been local.
Oh,
And
okay.
I am so grateful to the local audience for supporting me in this venture, because they have really been good in terms of actually book sales. And it's not like any huge amount of book sales,
Mm-hmm.
but to
Mm-hmm.
any author, it's just to sell a book, you're like, wow. So yeah, and I'm grateful for the Knowledge Library for Corinth, Knowledge Library for Spain, and the Scrabble Library acquired my books. So that is what I've acquired my last two books last year, as
Mm-hmm.
in addition to the first three books
Mm-hmm.
early in
Mm-hmm.
2016. And the Scrabble Library would have acquired the first three books, so I think 2016 or 2017, around there.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
last year they contacted me and were like, well, now they wanted to acquire the other two books, plus the audiobook.
Ah.
So we are in the process of dealing with that. It's not many books that they will take, because remember the libraries have budgets, and also they try to take West Indian writers in terms of they try to support them and acquire some of their books for the libraries.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's still something to me to have your book in the library, be like, you can go to the library, like, request your own book. Yeah, it's pretty nifty. Um, and the thing is, you also get, as a local author,
Mm-hmm.
you can donate one of your books to the Heritage Library, so therefore they would have it and they can keep it. And it's something that it's your legacy. It's your legacy to your country, it's your legacy to the world. And that's something that, yeah, it makes you realize that you're not just writing because you love to write, it's also writing to leave a legacy.
I mean, I guess it gives you a sense of national pride.
And I'm not speaking, yeah, because I'm like, I have a book in Heritage Life. I have a couple of books in Heritage Life. Just
Yeah,
verify. So actually, what I actually was an author. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's significant. It's contributing to the culture of the country.
Yes, it is. It is because at the time I was writing in Astro, and it was actually one of the persons I swim with who at the time was the editor for the Express newspaper. He was like, so you're writing magical realism. I had no idea that genre that I was doing was magical realism. So then he looked me this book by Isabella Allende, and I was like, oh, and I realized like nobody persons in the Caribbean right at the time was writing magical realism. Um, which is pretty. It lists as everybody Harry Potter, mixed Final Fantasy, mixed with Lord of the Rings, kind of thing. But it's still building a whole world. So I didn't see, and you see, thing is, we play things to advantage now. Because like, if you are a Netflix fan and you've ever seen Alchemy of Souls, have you ever seen Alchemy of Souls?
I haven't. I haven't. Tell me about it.
So
Okay.
that takes magical realism to a whole different level. It's the Hong Kong sisters who write that particular genre, and the two Korean sisters, screenwriters. Awesome, 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 awesome. That's all I have to say. Awesome. If you have not seen this on Netflix yet, please go see it.
Okay,
Highly recommend it.
okay. I'm making a little note here, so
Yeah.
yeah, taking a look. Recommended by Keri. So it's gotta be good. It's gotta be good.
It was, and it thing is, they built on so many storylines, and you had the magic, but you also had the relationships, and you also had um the different worlds and all the history behind it, and that's something what that show does. I remember the Alpha Sisters brought out Alchemy Souls. Well, Netflix picked it up last year, and they pulled it done last year, and this year actually, because this year was the second season. But show was 2012, so by the time you didn't really have that around. So it's nice to see how this particular genre is moving forward, and it is not only in Korea, because I'm like Hong Kong sisters are Korean, so and it's big, it was huge in Korea, and for Netflix to pick up Netflix picked up the Alchemy of Soul, and this is just huge internationally. So it just shows you that there is value in the different genres, even magical realism. So it's nice.
No, and it sounds like that. And it sounds like that. I mean, if it is that persons want to get copies of books, I mean, you mentioned Amazon, you mentioned the metropolitan bookstores. Where can a person get a copy of the Estrel series of books?
Right, so at present, I have no physical copies at Metropolitan because I do it on based on order. So if it is that they want to get a physical hard copy, you'll have to contact Metropolitan or they can contact me via my website or my email address. And I will organize with them for the physical hard copy. I do it for local persons. For the international crowd, they would have to get from Amazon, and it is basically the Kindle version. They don't get the hard copies. So, an example. So, Astro. Alyssa,
I mean, for those of you who are listening, she's showing me the books right now.
Frame of Connection. All of these were printed by one of our local printers, Rapid Print. Yeah, it was Rapid Print. And I would actually get it printed and then put it in the bookstores, and then business who were interested would purchase. Over the years, I realized it makes more sense if business to order this, and then I print for them. So, because I didn't like when I first published Astra, and I did a copy of the hard copy, did not like product, how Amazon had published it, or I should say, I think it was through Space.
Okay, okay.
And that's why I took over published. But I took over, like, if it is printing hard copy, I will do that, get that organized, because I want to see, I like a good product. I like people to like my book and be like, oh, okay, this is okay. This is a book. That's just me.
Is it that the process would have affected like how the book would have been presented and like for example how the readers would have interpreted the story?
Yes.
Okay.
Because if you're seeing something that's big and it's just like it is a thing of the presentation is important.
Okay, okay.
So it's easier when it's Kindle, it's easier when it's like you can read it on a tablet and phone because like they had the format is standard, so therefore there's not much they can mess up with. But when you have it in hard copy, it's a different story. So that's why I try to get it to the local audience, especially. I try to get it printed so therefore they will enjoy the presentation and they will enjoy reading it. And also, it's just like having books and just being able to smell the smell of the books. It's just like, oh,
Yeah, I mean, I know some persons are like that. There's nothing like the smell of a new book. I mean, you have the digital copy, but some persons like to flip the pages and, smell it and everything.
yeah,
Yeah, there's nothing like that, nothing like that. All right, well, I mean, that brings us to the end of the interview. I mean, thank you very much for your time, ladies and gentlemen, the attorney, the artist, and the author, the keen Keri Kitson. Thank you very much for your time, ma'am, and anything you want to say to the listeners at this point in time?
I just want to say thank you very much for having me, and I do hope that for anybody who's interested in writing or just follow your dreams, follow anything that speaks to your heart and do it because life is too short and you only have one life to live. So do your best.
Okay.
Right? So
Well,
thank you so much for having me again.
okay, it was a pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Keri Kitson, and this has been Tropical Literature Creatives. You've been listening to TLC, Tropical Literature Creators. If you've heard something of interest or something you like, reach out to us. Reach out to our authors. Follow us on social media. We look forward to hearing from you.